Well, hello there. My name is Mark Miles, and I love helping trainers, presenters, workshop facilitators really take their results to the next level. And in today's video, I want to talk to you about a topic that is a little bit controversial, a little bit out there, so to speak. And I'm going to say some things that potentially you may agree with, you may disagree with. But at the end of the day, I'm going to share some information that is just based on research and my years of presenting workshops over the last 10 plus years and noticing some certain things about participants and even myself. And in today's topic, I want to talk to you about the idea of learning preferences or learning styles. Now, I've made other videos around this topic, and many people will debate whether they are true or not true. And, you see a lot of articles that come out that support the topic of, learning styles, learning preferences, and people preferring to learn in a particular way, or the context will determine how people prefer to learn or the better way to teach something based on what someone is actually learning. But today, I want to share with you some ninja hacks or some advanced skills or some advanced things that you can actually look for to help you identify what the learning preferences might be of your particular learners that you have in front of you in a workshop. Because what we often find is that as soon as we start talking about the visual, the auditory, the kinesthetic whole conversation, people then go, I might get my learners to do a VARK questionnaire, and that'll be great. And I'll get them to do the questionnaire before I start teaching them. But what we need to realize is that you don't need to do a questionnaire to find out what learning style, the preferences your learners have. You just need to look at them. You just need to talk to them. Because what we often find is that all the clues are actually right in front of us. And through understanding what I'm about to go through, you'll start to pick up patterns. You'll start to notice things in people. But at the end, what I'm going to do in this video is I'm going to share with you the exact signs and I guess signals that you can see for a visual person, an auditory person, and a kinesthetic person that'll give you a bit of a sense of somebody's preference, so to speak. But then I'm going to share with you something at the very end of this video that is going to basically make this entire conversation come to light and basically give you the key learning or the key aha moment that you need to have when it comes to learning styles or learning preferences. So let's dive deep into what are some of the signals or signs that a visual person may actually be presenting to you that may indicate that they are a visual person, so to speak. Now, keep in mind as I go through these that generally we find that people are a bit of a combination of all three, okay? So you may be a high visual person next to an auditory person, next to a kinesthetic person, or you may be a high kinesthetic next to an auditory and next to visual, right? Everyone's going to have some of the components of all three, but generally we find that all people are predominant in one of them, so to speak. So a visual person, grab a pen, get read right, because the visual people, generally we find that the visual people actually talk a little bit faster because they've got all the images and the pictures in their mind that they're trying to communicate. All right. So generally we find a visual person, they talk faster. Now, a visual person also will generally talk with their hands quite a lot comparative to the other two styles, right? So they will also potentially be a bit of a thinner build, so to speak, and appearance-wise, they're going to be a little bit thinner, all right? Now, next, their handwriting is going to be really neat. You're going to find that visual people, their handwriting is really nice and really purposeful, okay? So they're really deliberate about how they write their letters because they want to get the images out on the paper as beautifully as they can. Next, you will often be able to identify a visual person by how they dress, what they wear, and the colors that they wear. Because generally you find visual people, they really do care about shades of color and, how they come across in their appearance, all right? So if you come across a visual person, you may see that, they're very well coordinated, so to speak, okay? So those are visual people. And everyone's perfect and beautiful, everyone's great, and we're simply describing some commonalities that you may identify if you come across someone that may be a little bit more predominant in learning via the things that they see. All right. Now let's go to the auditory person. Now let's go back to the visual for just 1 second, because the visual person will often breathe from their neck above. All right. So a visual person is going to breathe quite a lot, and it's going to be from neck up. Okay. Now let's go to auditory person. Now, as the name sort of states, auditory people are all about sounds, all about sounds. So they are very much more into music. They're much more into dancing. They're much more into the world of auditory experiences. Okay, so auditory people, the visual stuff, not so important. So you're going to find them dressing quite, how do I put this, quite monotone. There's going to be a lot of blacks and grays, and they're going to be very much down the line, and their voice is going to be very steady. Okay, there's not going to be much intonation. It's going to be just very much like a radio voice. So you're going to find that if someone's into music, that's a huge sign. If somebody plays an instrument, that's a huge sign. Okay, but they will often speak from the chest, and they will often be very sensitive to sound, so to speak. All right. So basically, an auditory person, they just don't stand out, so to speak. All right. They're just grey. Okay. Now, you may also have someone that walks in with headphones on. You may have someone that, literally tells you that they play an instrument. That's a huge sign that they are definitely an auditory predominant or preferred learner or participant, so to speak. Now, let's head to the kinesthetic, all right? Now, what we often find with the kinesthetic is they are a little bit larger in build, because for a kinesthetic person, they're all about feelings, they're all about sensations, and they are all about being and doing activities, all right? So they're very, very active people. Now, kinesthetic people, they will also breathe very much from the bottom of their stomach, so to speak, and they are going to speak in a way that's a little bit slower in nature, and they are also going to pause between their thoughts because they want to gather the information and they want to feel it out before they say it, all right? And generally, kinesthetic people, they feel the world. They don't just, see the world, so to speak. So kinesthetic people are trying to express their feelings more so, all right? Now, unlike the visual people, the kinesthetic people often have very messy handwriting, And you may even think of people in your life right now that maybe even have a little bit messy handwriting. Okay, next, as I said, clothes and appearance, not a big deal for them. They're not so concerned about that. And for them, it's just like, put it together, whatever works on the day, just wear it, right? And kinesthetic people, they're all about how they experience the world based on what they're feeling and sensing, okay? Now, kinesthetic people also have a lot of energy that they're always constantly trying to calibrate and express and get out, right? So you will often find workshop participants or learners, so to speak, in the first 5, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, tapping on a desk or tapping with their foot, so to speak, because they're trying to regulate the energy and disperse the energy that they have inside. Okay, so they've got much higher levels of energy within themselves that they need to regulate. Okay, so let's come back to it. Visual people, very, very much about the world and seeing the world in pictures, and you'll often see it in their appearance. They're very colorful, so to speak. All right. Auditory people, all about the sounds. Kinesthetic people, all about the feelings, the activities, and doing the things. Okay? So appearance is a huge giveaway. Now, another giveaway is essentially the language that people use. Because if we find that someone is consistently using regular keywords or phrases, that can often give it away as well. So if someone says, yeah, I see what you mean, hint, hint, nudge, nudge, probably a visual person. If someone says, yeah, that sounds right to me, probably an auditory person. If someone says, I just don't get it, or something feels off, well, probably a kinesthetic person. Now, all of these things that I'm saying are generalizations. All of these things that I'm saying are stereotypes, and all of these things are simply potential predictions. But what I want to say to you is that when you start looking for these things and start going out there and purposefully noticing things, you start to put the puzzle pieces together, which is really cool and really exciting. But one of the really simple ways that you can actually ask someone, simply find out and identify their learning preference or learning style, is simply ask them a couple of questions like, what do you do for fun? What do you do for work? Because what we often find is that somebody cannot do what is natural for them. What we mean by that is if someone says, oh yeah, I love reading books, well, probably not a kinesthetic person, right? If someone says, yeah, I love water skiing on the weekends and I love going for runs, on the beach, probably a huge indicator there that probably that person's a kinesthetic person. And potentially, if we ask them the question, what do you do for work? And someone says, oh, I'm a hairdresser. Well, there's a high probability, not guaranteed, but a high probability where you can start to place some bets that that person is probably highly visual and highly kinesthetic. You're not going to find somebody that's extremely auditory out there cutting hair as a hairdresser, right? So what we need to realize is that whether you agree with this stuff, whether you don't agree with this stuff, there's patterns out there, folks. And one of the biggest giveaways is that what we find with trainers, presenters, workshop facilitators is that ultimately every presenter will often default back to their own style of learning. And if somebody as a human loves the visual stuff, they're going to be using PowerPoint a lot more. If somebody as a presenter is a lot more auditory based, guess what? Strangely, they end up running a lot more discussions in their groups. And then strangely, if somebody as a human is a lot more kinesthetic as themselves, they're going to be doing a lot more practical activities and a lot more role plays and things like that. And that seems like an inevitable fact that no one seems to be able to downplay. And what we need to realize is that human nature means that we default to what's natural for us. Now, here's the punchline. Because what I've done in this video is giving you some clear signs of potentially which category someone may fall into based on some observations that we may be able to make. But the thing is, at the end of the day, guess what? Doesn't matter. At the end of the day, none of that matters. Because what we need to realize is that every single human, every single learner, every single participant in your workshop is going to be a different combination of all three of those things. And at the end of the day, unless you are delivering just one-on-one, and typically most trainers, presenters, facilitators are not, because we call that a bit of a coaching session. If we are delivering to small groups or medium groups or large groups, we need to actually focus on the more important thing, which is how do we deliver our training in as balanced fashion as possible so that we integrate the visual, we integrate the auditory, and we integrate the kinesthetic into all aspects of our training delivery. And the great advanced trainers and the master trainers, master facilitators, are able to bring in all three aspects and do it in a very seamless fashion. So I just want to encourage you going forward, start to notice some of the signs of the visual people, the auditory people, the kinesthetic people. Start to notice the signs. Start to be able to modify your language to connect with those individuals at an even deeper level. Start to notice, okay, this person's visual, this person's auditory, this person's kinesthetic. What needs do they have? And am I making sure that I'm fulfilling those needs for that person as a learner? And then stretch yourself to go, okay, in my workshops and my delivery, am I including all three styles to an equal level to make sure that nobody ever misses out, okay? Because that is the most important thing. We want to be as impactful as we can be across all three styles for any group that we are working with. All right, folks, hope that was valuable. Hope you got some insights out of them and start to get curious. Start to think about yourself. Start to think about your own handwriting. Start to think about, are you more of a this or a that or a that? And yes, if you want to go off and do a VARK questionnaire, go for it, folks. But at the end of the day, all the signs are pretty much in front of you if you know what you are looking for. All right. And yes, there is one more style. There's auditory digital, and you can definitely check that one out. But in this video, I just wanted to focus on the visual, the auditory, and the kinesthetic. On that note, folks, thanks for watching the video. As always, like, comment, subscribe, and share this video around. And know that at the end of the day, we want stuff that can be workable and we can use straight away in that training room to get even better results. Thanks for watching, team, and we'll see you on the next one.